Now, let's take it from the top.
This is the Lowdown Sports Show.
Give me the lowdown.
With Drew.
I just heard your dad might already hate you, and I was like,
Yeah.
what, brother? Oh, man.
And BJ.
Yeah, he could be part of the mascot's entourage and be throwing T-shirts into the crowd.
And it all starts right now.
All right, welcome into another episode of the Lowdown Sports Show. I'm your host, Drew.
I'm BJ.
And we're here to get the lowdown on all things basketball. Got a nice show prepared for everybody today.
I love when we have one of those.
Yes, indeed. I have those a lot. But before we get into our show, we want to shout out our partners, TeePublic, Fanatics, and SeatGeek. SeatGeek is a ticket app that takes the confusion out of buying tickets. Use code The Lowdown in all caps for $20 off your first order. And you can get more than game stuff. You can go to concerts and anything like that. So get with SeatGeek. Now we can get into the show. We got some NBA and some WNBA, some old heads. That's what some people call them. I like to call them old heads, old school players, whatever you will. Got some top 10 lists out that raise some people's eyebrows, and just got to talk about that a little bit today.
One of them has to be a troll, right?
Yeah.
Right?
So, gonna go through the Damian Lillard saga a little bit, touch on that today, of course. Going into the WNBA, talking a little bit of Brittney Griner. She's taking a break right now, and some sleepers in the W that could possibly win the championship that are not the Aces.
Ooh.
And of course, some BJ's best, what's on Drew's mind, and with it or quit it. We're ready to rock. BJ, you ready to rock?
I'm ready to rock, Drew. It's all brought to you by StatHead, who presents today's stat of the episode. Last night, I don't know if you caught it, Drew. We'll talk about this, I think, a little bit later on, but there was a pretty high-scoring affair between the Wings and the Storm up in Seattle. Well, at least high-scoring for two players in particular. For the Wings, it was Enrique Gumbolale, and for the Storm, of course, Jewell Loyd having another phenomenal game. In the process, Drew, even in the loss, Jewell Loyd is now just one of 5 players to score 30 or more points against the same team 3 times in one WNBA regular season. She joins a list that consists of Diana Taurasi, Tina Charles, who did it most recently back in 2021, Angel McCoughtry, and Maya Moore, who is the only other player that has more in more games against one opponent with 30 or more points. Maya Moore did it 4 times against, back then they were Shock, but what would become the Wings. So
Shock up. Okay.
Yeah. So
I like a good stat like that.
Yeah, absolutely. And so Jewell Loyd is going to have a chance to match that when the Wings and the Aces, or Wings and the Storm, I should say, play for the 4th and final time this season in September. In fact, just about a month from now, September the 8th. Also, credit to Across the Timeline. They were the ones that got me going down the rabbit hole, at least, but I was able to find that stat over with our friends at StatHead to get that for today's episode. So pretty good display. And if you're the Wings, you got to find some way of shutting her down so that she can't match the WNBA record, right?
I mean, you can do
it
your
may
best.
Be tough.
Do your best. I mean, it
easier
is
said than done.
Yeah, I mean, this is a career high scoring season for her. I mean, she's just cooking. So I mean, it's just probably going to be one of those where, I mean, what can you do? I mean, we'll see what she can do, though. A month from now, she might be able to match that. There you go. And that's the stat of the episode from Mr. BJ there. Appreciate you, sir.
Absolutely, Drew. Thank you.
Yeah. Man, okay. I almost want to talk WNBA right now already. We got to make it wait, though. We've got to be orderly here. We've got a system.
We have a structure.
Yes, indeed. let's get into our NBA stuff. First off, Dr. J, all-time player, big time guy. You know, had the fancy little 1 mil dunk with his hand. You know the video with the legs out, the high socks, the very short shorts, all that good stuff.
Just a different era, Drew.
Yeah, just a totally different time. But nowadays, he's just an old dude. He's an old head, just like all the rest of the retired players. You're an old head. It's what it is. Even D Wade, we can consider him an old head.
I guess he's
retired. I mean, you're a retired player. Once LeBron retires, he's an old head.
Okay.
But Dr. J, he joined the list of these old heads that wanted to make themselves a top 10 list. You know, every one of them has their own little list of their top 10 players. Well, Dr. J decided to throw his hat in the ring here and make his own little top 10 list, BJ. And
I think before we get into the list, this is just, isn't this just peak off-season filler content almost? Like the fact that this is what we're talking about, because I mean, outside of what we're going to talk about here a little bit later on, there's really not a whole lot of moves being made or anything like that. We got through the big part of free agency now, and a lot of these, there's still moves to be made and finalizing rosters, everything like that. But we don't really have a whole lot of on-court action in terms of the NBA side of things to discuss. So this is where you get these kinds of times a year where, we all sit back and let the internet chat rooms debate. And then now I guess we get the old heads debating as well.
We get to have our fun. Yes. Yeah, we get our pickings in the off season, as they say. I mean, you never know what kind of content's gonna pop up in the off season. But
absolutely,
Dr. J, Julius Erving. Here's his top 10 list in no particular order. I don't think he actually went in order at any point.
I have the quote. I have the quote. I don't have the clip.
Okay.
But as I say, that he said there were 5 guys that were untouchable.
Oh, well, I mean, but when we list these names off, I'm sure we could guess. Like, did he said it?
He said these are. So I'll let you read.
Did he tell you which ones they were in this quote? Okay. I want to guess them first.
Okay.
So here's the top 10 list because I didn't see that.
Gotcha.
Jerry West, the Big O, Oscar Robertson, Elgin Baylor, Wilt Chamberlain, Bill Russell. You see what I mean by old head? This is a very old list already.
Well, I mean, there's so far these are some of the best of the best, though.
But it ain't getting any younger, really.
Ooh.
Well, I mean, a little bit younger, but Michael Jordan. I mean, everybody's got him on there. Kareem Abdul-Jabbar. Karl Malone.
Okay.
Magic Johnson.
Okay.
And Nate Tiny Archibald.
What? Really? Tiny Archibald. Okay. Well, why don't you guess which 5 he said are untouchable?
Oh man, I feel like the ones that I want to guess. I feel like they're going to be wrong. So okay. So I'm going to go down this.
Give it your best shot.
Let's say, Michael Jordan, untouchable.
Well,
that one.
No, he was not. So, okay. Oh, I can read this off.
Okay, this is going to be fun then. Okay. See what I mean? This is what I'm saying. Elgin Baylor.
Yeah, Elgin Baylor is one of the 5.
Wilt Chamberlain.
Yep.
Bill Russell.
Yep.
Okay.
So we got 3.
Jerry West.
Yep.
Oh, one more. Let's just, for the sake of what I don't want it to be, but I think it might be, Oscar Robertson.
It is. He said the 5 guys who are untouchable: Bill Russell, Wilt Chamberlain, Oscar Robertson, Jerry West, and Elgin Baylor. That's my all-time best team. Everybody else has to be on the second team or the third team. I made this decision when I was 15 years old. I'm sticking with it now all these years later. There was no order. I think West and Robertson would be in the backcourt. Elgin Baylor would be in the front court with Wilt and Bill Russell. Then he says the next group of guys would be Kareem Abdul-Jabbar, Michael Jordan, Magic Johnson, probably Karl Malone. And then he admits that he and his son debate over the list and they struggled to find the 10th and final player. So he says, I always argue with my son where Tim Duncan belongs. And he's like, he belongs ahead of Karl Malone for sure. I'm taking Karl Malone, Irving explained. And that last position, I like Tiny Archibald. So, okay. Well, this is definitely putting the emphasis in old head.
Yeah.
But so he was asked why certain players that I know you're going to ask about, Drew, why they're not on this list. Notably, LeBron James, Steph Curry, some of the the all-time great players that we're lucky enough to get to watch today.
Where's Shaq at?
Yeah, exactly. Where's Shaq? So in terms of Curry specifically, Irving said he has not played long enough. He has to finish his career. Everybody I named their careers are finished. This doesn't explain.
Wait. But he said he hasn't played long enough. What is the length? What if you retire? That's good enough, though. What if you do it? What if Curry retired right now?
Why is Kobe not on the list? Kobe, unfortunately, he's already retired and he's no longer with us, but he's not on the list.
I need to ask Mr. J. How many years do you have to play in the NBA? How many did he play? Hold on. Like, did Curry play more years than you, brother? I need to.
That's a stat head question right there, Drew.
Go to our friends at Basketball Reference here.
Well, that's where stat head comes from.
Yes, indeed, I know. But
this is by the way, this all comes from an interview that Dr. J did with Joy D'Angelo.
15 seasons.
Okay, and Curry's getting pretty close. Getting pretty close to where Dr. J finished.
Hey, Bubba. Hey, Curry. Oh, they didn't have the total right there at the bottom, but
should be
13 seasons.
Okay, so he's getting pretty close. If he plays another couple years, they'll be right around the same number.
Actually, 14 seasons. I'm sorry, and he's going on year 15.
Yeah, I was about to say I thought he was about to enter year 15.
Yeah, Dr. J, same amount of years as you, brother, almost. And give him a couple more. Okay, all right. Well, Curry, I hope you remember what he said. You got to play 3 more years now. Play more years than Dr. J, and you got to automatically have him make a new list with you on it, I guess. But
yeah, I imagine here in like 3 to 5 years, there's going to be. I think if we're lucky enough that Dr. J is still, he's not in that old. He's only in his 70s. In 3 to 5 years, we probably will see both Curry and LeBron retire. Is that fair to say, Drew? In 3 to 5 years, both of those guys will be retired.
Yeah, unless LeBron does some, Tom Brady stuff and just, he gets like 2 more titles. He's like, well, man, I got a good team and come back. Let's get 1 more. Why not? Who knows?
But in non-superheroic,
right?
So
once LeBron becomes a little bit human as he hits 40 or something, then you might see him want to retire.
Yeah. So we're getting really close to that. If Dr. J is asked about this again in another couple of years, does he kind of remember what he said here and change it up a little bit?
No, BJ, this is an old man. If he's sticking to his gun since, what did he say, 15?
Yeah,
he ain't changing. That's the old man. He's not changing. He's not. I understand you got your little favorite players. That's maybe his first list ever or something. I don't know whether that was his first or something. It's going to be my first list. It's going to be my last type stuff. I don't know. But come on, man. You can't leave out LeBron James. I can't take this list seriously at all. Come on. You can't even troll and leave this man off.
I was just saying, I feel like
they're talking about him as the GOAT all the time, like rivaling with Jordan. Like, who is it? Is it Jordan? Is it Bron? Like, you can't even leave him out of the top 5, honestly. Like, maybe in today's NBA players, sure, baby, there are 5 better than LeBron right now. You could make that case. All time, no.
Yeah. No. And I think that this is just, I really don't know what to chalk this up to. I think that, what you were saying about, a troll coming up trying to infuriate people probably couldn't put together a list that would aggravate people as much as this one does.
Yeah, and just the confusion. The last one, Tiny Archibald, that's just I like this guy's game or something, because that's not realistically him thinking that is a top 10 player.
Tiny Archibald over somebody like a George Gervin or something.
There's so many names that you can put there instead of Tiny Archibald.
Yeah. And I mean the fact that they were arguing, he and his son are arguing about. Yeah, I know. What about Larry Bird? What about, all
Just
these other guys?
Names on names.
The fact
before
that
you even breathe tiny.
The fact that he and his son argue about Tim Duncan and like putting him, where Carl instead of Karl Malone. No, but you could put Karl Malone and Tim Duncan. You put Tim Duncan over Tiny Archibald. I mean, like you said, there's no Kobe, no Duncan, no Dirk, no LeBron, no Curry. None of these players, no Durant. In which, I mean, once you get down a certain way, the argument starts to fall off just a smidge. But I mean, those first 4 or 5 that I mentioned are definitely in the consideration, or should be in the consideration. And not to say that, other than maybe Tiny Archibald, who was a really good player.
He was.
That doesn't mean that there aren't better players out there. I didn't have a real problem with the 5 that he started off with. I mean, you can make your arguments for other players as opposed to, the Big O, as opposed to Elgin Baylor and Jerry West. I mean, if you're the thing I think that is the problem, Drew, is that what he's doing is he's taking a 5 and trying to do it by position, as opposed to 5 best players ever, regardless of position out there. And so that might be where the logic comes from, is that he's trying to build up this team and do it by position, but that doesn't work.
He's a silly old man.
Well, he might be that too.
Yeah, I mean, like, let me drop a name. Like, so I mean, you got Tiny Archibald, Dwayne Wade. Who you got out of those 2? I mean, like, if you got to think about it, like, all right,
Dwayne Wade, yeah.
Yeah, I mean, even if you don't have to think about it, like, even if it battles with you a little bit, because Tiny was good. Like, let me give you Tiny stuff. I mean, Hall of Famer, 6-time All-Star, 5-time All-NBA, NBA champ, All-Star Game MVP, assist champ, scoring champ. Good player.
Yeah.
Not a top 10 player.
Well, I was just saying, there should be a way to there should be a way with StatHead, Drew. We can do a comparison.
You can do comparison D Wade to Tiny Archibald, but
yeah,
I mean, we can pop into that later. But I'm just saying, like, for comparison, like, you would have to think about that. But there are so many players that you can list that are better than D Wade that you would take, for that 10th spot over even him. Like,
yeah.
But that's how kind of crazy that one is right
and
there.
I think it's, I would say Dwayne Wade over Tiny Archibald, but I also think that it would be for me because of the era that I grew up in. I watched much more Dwayne Wade and got to see him live as opposed to watching Tiny Archibald highlights and may not have appreciated his game. So that's, that's, we can sit here and we can, maybe we can disagree with it. That, I think that's why this has come about, is because it's meant to have discussion like this. And we'll have another discussion here in a second with another top 10 list.
Go ahead. There's another old head, but he's not as loopy with his list. He's quite entertaining on NBA on TNT, though. Mr. Shaquille O'Neal, that has already been mentioned on the show. He's got a little list, BJ. Yeah.
We've got the graphic right here, Drew. If we want to slide over to the edge of our screen so we can still be seen, unfortunately, we got to...
I'll hide.
Yeah. I was going to say the crop here, just because of the way that this picture was. But Shaq's top 10 players, if you're listening at home, he's got them listed in no particular order, with Magic Johnson, Kobe Bryant, Michael Jordan, LeBron James, Shaquille O'Neal.
He started off hot. I just want to say, I mean, you're cooking with gas right here, buddy. That's 5.
A great 5. That is a solid top 5.
Oh, man.
Not like you said, not in any particular order. He continues. Right. Steph Curry, another.
I like it still.
One. Allen Iverson. I can understand the argument for sure. Yeah, Isaiah Thomas.
Hold on, wait a minute. Show some respect to Zeke, bro. You gonna say I can understand Allen Iverson, but you got a question mark on the 2-time champion?
I'm not. No, I can understand why he would put Isaiah Thomas up there as well. Timmy Duncan and Karl Malone are his top 10. So that's not a bad one, but I just
want to understand what Karl Malone is doing in these top 10 lists. What is it? What is it?
What
is he? I don't. Why?
He's top 10 adjacent at least. He's
Stop it! Stop it right now!
Just because he's a total creep and a scumbag of a human being doesn't mean that he wasn't a phenomenal basketball player.
He was all right. Dirk or Karl Malone?
Dirk. Yeah.
See how quick that is.
Well, but that may be because I'm biased towards Dirk.
You are, but he is better. He is better. Because Karl, if it's just an offensive battle right there.
Yeah.
Hey.
But I don't.
Whatever.
This one definitely is not as bad. Although there are players like Bill Russell and Shaq that that Shaq didn't put on there. Bill Russell and Wilt, Hakeem, like some of the.
And he wasn't gonna put no Hakeem up here.
He wasn't gonna put any other center besides himself, though, Drew.
No.
And that's part of why I think, is this serious or is he trolling? Because he's the only center on this list. Yes and yes.
He's serious and he's trolling.
That's a good answer.
But man, his list, started off definitely, real cooking with gas. But some of those that Dr. J had in comparison, he had Jordan, he had Magic, but he was still in left field on some things. But Shaq's looks a little bit better, but eyebrows are still raised at Allen Iverson and Zeke and Karl on here. Yeah. I love me some Zeke. I'll defend some Zeke too, but I ain't putting him on this list. Allen Iverson. Yeah. We got the same tattoo, brother. Get the graphic off here. You can't even see it like that. I can turn it. All right, that's weird.
I'll turn my head.
But the only strong survive. Okay, you see it better this way. Influence, but brother, you ain't top 10 for me. I love you, obviously, but you're not top 10 for me. And Karl. He likes low numbers like 10. Okay. Moving on. We'll have to
that's
shift gears here.
I don't know how, but we will.
Damian Lillard, in other news, still trying to get the heck out of Portland. Not really working out. No real traction right now. Sources tell Shams. Is it Shams or Shams?
I've always heard Shams.
Ooh.
Because I think I've
heard Shams a lot.
I've heard it's Woj. I think that might be where the confusion is. Woj and Shams is what I've heard.
Okay, I'll figure it out.
So Shams, of course, The Athletic, and Woj, ESPN.
Yep, Lillard remains focused on the move to the Heat, but I ain't really seen nothing. Nothing's really happening here, BJ. So much so that Bleacher Report just decided to speculate today. They wanted to whip up a little 4-team trade where they think everybody wins here, involving Damian Lillard. Let's see what they cook up. I wanted to not look at this list and live react it with you.
Okay, that's fine. I have not seen this list, so this will be live reaction for me.
Bingo. Okay, the deal here. Let's take a look at it. 4 teams involved. Would you like to guess the other teams besides the Portland Trailblazers and probably, obviously, the Miami Heat?
I feel like Oklahoma City's always got to be involved somehow in these big time trades. So if they're not, is Toronto?
Sorry. Let me make this easier for you. These are all. The other 2 teams are Eastern Conference teams.
Okay. Is Toronto involved by chance? Okay.
No Raps.
Washington.
No whiz.
Chicago.
Bing bing.
Okay, Chicago is good. Trying to think who else would have flexibility in the cap. Is Detroit? What about Orlando? We get it. Oh man.
You give up?
I give up. So I got what's that?
Philly.
Okay. Well, they do have a little bit more, especially once they inevitably let Harden decide wherever he wants to go.
Take a deep breath, BJ. Breathe in. Let it out.
Okay.
Now let's go through this trade. Portland Trailblazers received James Harden's expiring contract. Can be flipped later, maybe.
Mm-hmm.
Kyle Lowry's expiring contract. Jaime Jaquez, Nikola Jovic, almost got you there. A 2028 first round pick from Miami, a 2030 first round pick from Miami, and a 2030 second round pick from Chicago. The Miami Heat would receive Damian Lillard, Yusuf Nurkic. Oh man, sounds really good so far.
Mm-hmm.
A 2029 second round pick from Philly and a 2028 second round pick from Chicago. Okay. I mean, I'm not mad at what this is looking like so far.
So far, so good. I don't have any qualms with this, really.
Philadelphia 76ers get Zach LaVine.
Ooh, okay.
Big shuffle here.
Yeah.
And they also get Tyler Harrow. Ooh, changes Miami's dynamic a little
Definitely bit. Changes
and
things
Chicago's up. Like, ooh, what do you do?
Yeah.
And a 2029 second round pick from Portland.
Okay.
Well, this is interesting.
Couldn't be bad.
Chicago receives Tobias Harris's expiring contract. So Tobias, Caleb Martin, so a good defensive piece for Miami. Depth gone.
Mm-hmm.
Keon Johnson, not sure who that fellow is. A 2029 first round pick swap with the Sixers, and a 2030 first round pick from Philly.
Yeah, this is not the worst trade, in all honesty. There are good things for all the teams involved. Now, if you're Chicago in this scenario, you're probably thinking, I might be getting the smallest straw out of the bunch. But
they are the worst part of the deal.
Yeah. They're not really seeing too much value in making this trade, I would imagine.
Tobias Harris to tag team along with DeMar DeRozan.
Yeah.
If DeRozan and LaVine couldn't get you much.
Yeah.
What do you think, Tobias Harris?
No. Well, and I wonder what Philadelphia would look like with
like way in the future with these picks. 2029, 2028, 2030, like they ain't helping Chicago in the near future.
No, I was gonna say they probably will, that's probably all they really had available to stockpile or whatnot.
I mean,
there's been a lot of movement that
I wouldn't have got rid of Zach, man. I would have.
No.
Vucevic could have hit the door. Like
there is some tension, I think, or there's some kind of butting of the heads with LaVine and the
wasn't
Bulls.
he in like trade speculation this year?
Yeah,
I feel like it was.
Yeah.
Okay. Well, will everybody be happy? That's what I'm trying to digest here. Is I don't think Chicago's going to be too hunky dory with another rebuild. Essentially, I mean that's just a mid-Eastern Conference team: Tobias Harris, DeMar DeRozan, and Nikola Vucevic. Oh, the big three. Chicago fans want to throw up trying to call that a big three. I know they do. I don't know how that one worked. It started out real hot, like scorching. I mean. And then Philly got a little eyebrow raise with Zach. Like you had to figure something was going to get interesting, but it didn't. It got less interesting for Chicago.
Yeah. I think this is one of those teams. If this trade goes through Chicago, you're looking at best case scenario, kind of being in that middle of the road where Dallas was last year, in that around the 10 spot, wanting to lose so that you can. Have a better chance of the top 10 pick and hoping to get, some value, unless you just full on like completely gut it and try to, actively tank for a top 5 pick. So
I mean, it's interesting with Portland because they'd be in a. Would they even be in rebuild anymore with this type of package back to them?
Well,
Harden, Lowry, Jaime Jaquez, the young rookie, Jovic potential. I mean, he has potential too.
I would say they would have some. So the question would then become, which of those pieces do you want to bring back? You've got essentially, in Harden and Lowry, you've got 2 guys there in the backcourt that you'd want to play, and that would also take away some options and some minutes from the young rooks that they've got up there. I'm blanking on name. I know you know who I'm talking about. Just
I do.
3rd overall this year. So Scoot, thank you. I don't know why I couldn't think of Scoot
the boot.
Scoot Henderson, but if he's the future, and it's kind of one of the reasons why Lillard is wanting out, then it really does beg the question of, is Portland going to embrace the tank and build around Scoot?
I don't know if he's necessarily what is pushing Lillard out. I feel like Lillard's kind of been on the fence for this for a while. He just wanted to be a loyal, good guy, but he realized let me just peace out.
I was to say, I think he realized that his window is truly closing to be a champion.
Yeah, especially like the last few years and how that's went ever since, not getting to reappear in the conference finals. He finally, woke up a little bit. But do you think that this Lillard saga with the Heat is going to resolve anytime soon? Like, will, a big trade happen where everybody is actually happy? Or is it going to be some big team trade like this where one team is like, what are you doing here in this trade?
Based on what we talked about last year, there was, a lot of kind of unhappy with contracts, and we thought that there would be a deal done in the offseason before the season started any day, and it didn't come to fruition. I will say right now on the record that I think this is going to be a move that happens at the deadline. I don't think it's going to happen before the start of the next season. And I don't know if when we get into the season that it'll be as expansive as this 4-team scenario that they have laid out. Now, there will be a lot of these positions moving around, these players that are listed in this potential trade that you read off, but I can't imagine they're all a big part of this. This is another thing about the offseason that we love, is that we get to come up with these big, bold, 4-team deals or 3 or 4-team deals, and in reality, there's just not a whole lot of reason and incentive, more so for Chicago, but even for Philadelphia to get involved in this. Philadelphia a little bit more so than Chicago. Chicago's like, oh, thanks. You want to stab me in the back as well while you're robbing me blind of everything?
I think Philly would be happy here. I mean, you lose Harden, but you get Zach LaVine, and then you get Tyler Herro. That's a lot of points.
Yeah, I think that's why I was saying I think Philly would be less inclined to not want to be involved as opposed to Chicago.
Yeah, Chicago, the only one that's not going to be happy here, really, unless Portland loses everybody that they get handed over, which they very well could in this deal. But that is interesting that you say you think this is going to make it to the deadline here. I don't know. I feel like this is going to be one of those that does continue to drag out a bit, but it pops up on us right after football season started. Like right when we're in the midst of football, we're comfortable, week 2 games about to happen tomorrow. Boom, Saturday, blockbuster trade reported by Woj, Damian Lillard to the Miami Heat in a 4-team trade involving the Trailblazers, the Heat, the
Sixers,
Charlotte Hornets, and the Detroit Pistons. I don't know, something disgusting that just doesn't make sense. The people that have picks or something like OKC, they shipped like a third of their 18 picks out to get some piece in this trade or something. It's going to happen when we stop thinking about it a little bit. This is going to burst on us, some major trade, and we're going to be like, oh my gosh, the NBA has been quiet for a week, and this is what we got. We're going to be busy for a week and a half now.
That actually does make sense to me, because it always feels like there's something in what it was the trade deadline was right around the Super Bowl this year. So the Super Bowl got upstaged by the Kyrie Irving and the Kevin Durant deals. Wouldn't it make just as much sense for the NBA to come back and do something else to the NFL during the season? So it is very possible that could come to fruition. So I think there's who really knows the timing on these things. I think it's more likely that we'll see games played before Lillard's on the move, but I've been wrong before.
Oh, that's very interesting, though. We'll see what happens if that is the actual case when that comes around.
Yeah.
But for now, it's time for BJ's Best.
Well, thank you, Drew. So I've got a couple of quick hitters I want to mention here in BJ's Best today. I'm going to start things off with, I know we talked about it, I think a couple weeks back when we last had our personal segments, Drew.
Mhm.
You've been keeping up with those lotteries drawings?
Oh, yeah. Actually, that's funny. I had some coworkers ask me if I wanted to get in on it, and I was like, "Nah, I'm
I
good."
was to say, I was going to ask you if you were.
I was not. No.
I am somebody that normally does not get involved
Oh,
when
you got in there, BJ?
Well, so I'm normally somebody that doesn't, but when we get to numbers like this,
Right.
it's tough for
I think I've
you
heard
to
that before.
not want to get involved. So
Right.
I haven't bought tickets for tomorrow's drawing yet, but I am planning on it. That's going to be something, but either after I get done at the office tomorrow or after the show tonight, that I will be taking on. So I wanted to just to mention the really the odds of it, because it's fascinating to me. You talk about the Mega Millions. Now the jackpot has soared over $1 billion with a B dollars, $1.25 billion now, and this is from the Associated Press. It says the chances of winning the lottery are extremely slim. You
Mhm.
think? You think?
Yeah.
Really? You think? So it says this is one of the largest lottery drawings in history. But if you are the winner, you would have to beat some pretty extraordinary odds. One winner in 302.6 million. So you've got a 1 in 302.6 million odds to be the jackpot winner. Even if you were just a top prize winner, if you didn't win the jackpot, but potentially almost 100 million if you don't win the jackpot, but you're one of the top prizes, which, I mean, that's nothing to sniff at, Drew. If you don't win the jackpot, but you get that kind of money, like, holy cow. The odds of winning that, well, this is actually the Powerball, which was almost at, estimated at 95 million for the drawing that happened yesterday. Nobody won that. Nearly 1 in 292.2 million. So that is, pretty extraordinary. They have adjusted that in the past couple of years. I can't remember what the numbers used to be, but they have adjusted it. So we're seeing bigger lottery pools and more of these, big time jackpots, because it's tougher to win these games now, Drew. I think they changed them here in the past decade or so, in order to have a greater chance of the lottery, of course, making more money in the process. But when they do have to pay out, it is usually a bigger payout, a bigger prize for the winner, that you don't see it normally. It used to be back a few years ago, it would be, if it got north of 500 million, that was pretty rare. It never really climbed up that high. And then all of a sudden, once they changed the odds, we've seen billion this, billion that for both Powerball and Mega Millions. And, it feels like it's becoming almost a once a year type of deal that the number gets up this high.
They did the stuff so they could make more money off of it.
Of course,
they
of
cashing
course.
out. I saw that you only, after what did you say? The one was 1 point something billion,
1.25 billion,
and you make like 330 something odd after taxes.
Oh no, it would be higher. So about the cash payout, if you do it more like the one-time payment as opposed to the annual setup for 30 years or whatever to be paid out the full prize value, it would be, you'd get about half of it, I'm pretty sure. So that's about like 600 million. And then you got to figure in that they'll take about 10, 15, 20%, if not, 25% at the most out of that in taxes. So you are probably looking at, another 100 million coming out. So it would probably be safe estimate anywhere between $450, $475 million if you do the cash payout at the end of the day, which is, still nothing to sniff at, but that's life altering kind of money right there. So, if you do play, may the odds ever be in your favor. And if I'm able to upgrade my setup anytime soon, I'm not going to tell you why, but that might be a hint. So
I'll be super butthurt if my coworkers win and I didn't get in on it.
Yes, yeah, that happens from time to time, and then it's like, no, I was just kidding. That's why, even if you throw in like $2, if they win, you'll get a smaller share, but you'll still get part of that.
Cut is a cut.
A cut is a cut, right?
Cut in that amount of money anyway.
Yeah. Oh yeah. And then the other thing I wanted to briefly mention here in BJ's Best, Drew, have you ever been in a position where you had somebody cutting your lawn instead of you cutting your lawn for you? I was going to say, I know you have lived in apartments, so this is probably not applicable, but I know you had you were in a house growing up, and maybe you were the one that was designated to mow the lawn.
We all had our fair shares of mowing the lawn.
Mm-hmm.
I did a lot of it. My mom liked to too. Sometimes, I mean, I'd wake up and she's out there mowing already. So,
well, yeah, I was gonna say it could be worse. I will tell you, if you do it yourself, you probably won't have to worry about what this woman had to worry about. So, she had a neighbor. I'll get it out. She had a new neighbor come in and start mowing her own lawn at 8 a.m. one morning. So he wasn't mowing his lawn. He was mowing hers. And then he had the gall to give her a bill for his services. He wanted her to pay him £43. This is over in the UK. £43 for him mowing her lawn without her asking or entering a negotiation to pay him to do it for her.
Well, let me ask you, how disgusting was her lawn? Was it like a tree forest? And he was like, this is unruly.
I'm not seeing anything in terms of the length of the grass in her yard in this article.
I'll keep listening.
It just says her neighbor moved into her street about 6 months ago, has been nothing but trouble since he arrived, despite not even meeting them properly. Wakes her up after, like 4 a.m. working with power tools as he works on his projects before heading off to work for the day. And then he started mowing her garden without her permission and then sent her the bill. So it says, I look at the front and see my neighbor on his ride-on doing our front lawn. As I notice he finishes and goes back next door, I mentioned it to my husband, and we're both feeling pretty awkward about it as we haven't formally met him. And then he's randomly mowing our lawn. Is he being nice? What is this? After returning home from a party at the middle of the day, she saw a slip of paper had been pushed underneath her front door. She had it under the door is a bill for lawn mowing. The cheeky sod, I love British dialect. Yeah. The cheeky sod was asking for $55, which is £43, for 30 minutes on his ride-on that we did not ask for. So she said, I took the bill to their house and handed it to his wife, explaining we weren't paying as we never asked them to mow and were extremely confused by the situation. She honestly didn't even look shocked at what her husband had done. She said she'll give it back to him, and that was that. So maybe it's a scam. Maybe it's somebody that, thought that there was a nonverbal agreement to mow the lawn, and there was none whatsoever. But
I say what I said earlier because I've known somebody that has gone and mowed a yard because it was so disgusting. Like they let the grass get too tall. It was the only one in the neighborhood that was unruly, so somebody just went over there.
Yeah, and that makes sense. Yeah, and that makes sense. And I mean, in that situation, yes, I can understand wanting compensation for it, especially because you're working hard, but at the end of the day, unless you come to some kind of agreement, and you either need verbal agreement or written agreement of some sort, if you want to be compensated for doing that. Otherwise, it's just a nice neighborly gesture in my book.
At that point, I waited too long to mow this yard, but thanks for mowing it. Bye, buddy.
And don't do any work for free. This is a word of advice. Don't do any work for free.
Do not.
Don't mow lawns for free. If you're a kid looking for a quick summer paycheck or whatever,
I've seen a lot of those actually before I left Texas.
I was gonna say lemonade stand is good, but if you're going if you want to mow lawns, just get permission.
Yeah, I've actually even seen one here. Oddly enough,
I haven't seen a lemonade stand in a long time, actually.
Yeah, you're in a bit bigger. You're a little bit bigger city.
Yeah, I am. So, but that's BJ's best, Drew. Don't ask or don't mow people's lawns without permission.
Don't do a lot of stuff.
Don't do a lot of stuff without permission
on people's property without permission. People get
you might find yourself with unintended consequences you don't want. That's just a safety thing,
Exactly. But something you do want, that merch from T Public and Fanatics, but we'll get to Fanatics in a minute. T Public, there is no sale this week, ladies and gents. I know, sad face. But you can still get the gift of free shipping. I know I tell you about it all the time when there's no sale. Free shipping on orders of $80 or more. That's right, $80 or more at T Public. You visit the link in the description and start stuffing those items in your cart right now.
That's right, Drew. And if you want to shop over at Fanatics, of course, the women's national soccer team is still competing for another World Cup. You can get some merch over there at Fanatics. But this morning, actually just a couple mornings ago, I should say, this morning they launched a new Nike Pegasus collection on Fanatics. That was something we mentioned on the college football show yesterday. That is officially out on Fanatics now. You can go ahead and shop there. There is also new jerseys out. If you're a Phoenix Suns fan, gotta love when the NBA jerseys get dropped. They've got some new icon and association jerseys available for purchase over at Fanatics, which is your official place to find everything. And right now, there is no sale going on, but they always have deals in store. If you become a Fanatics MVP, weekly deals that aren't available to just anybody. You got jerseys, you've got Nike Pegasus, so much more. NFL, college football season are both coming up. There's a lot of stuff out there available at Fanatics. And so just head over to fanatics.com, find your officially licensed merchandise, and look at what Drew's got on over there, or what he's got in front of him. He's got something from Fanatics.
It's actually not. I thought you were finishing up. I was leading into my segment. Continue.
Okay. Well, I was going to say you can also get yourself T Public some of these nice stickers, mugs for coffee, and shirts like the one that I'm wearing. And the one that Drew has in front of him begs the question, what is on Drew's mind this week?
Ladies and gentlemen, if you haven't guessed it by now, it's the Texas Rangers. Baby. Got Max Scherzer. We're ready to ride. We are ready to ride. This What's on Drew's Mind is just a celebration. It's just a celebration segment. That's really all this is today.
Awesome.
Because we are serious in Texas. We are for real. We are doing what the Cowboys don't do enough of. It's putting our money where our mouth is and having the huevos to go get the guys that we need to win a freaking championship. And in Texas, in Arlington, the Rangers are ready. Almost every time you see the Rangers finish a game, they finish on top nowadays. They finish on top. And they even have double-digit runs almost all the time. It's injected in my veins. Let's go. Hello, win column. And soon, hello, World Series.
I don't know what brand of coffee you've been drinking since you got up there, but it's almost like it's liquid crack cocaine almost. Like you've got an energy right now, Drew, that I don't think I've ever seen you get up to before.
Straight up Texas.
Straight up Texas, man.
We got a 3-time Cy Young winner, a World Series champ, and an 8-time All-Star. And if we're healthy next year,
he's coming back next year too.
We get the Grom back too.
know what's happening.
Think about a year or two ago, BJ, how much pain we were in about our pitching. It's just, I used to watch games and listen to the fan and just be sad.
Well, I was just say a couple years ago, Drew, the rotation, like the best arm in the rotation was Kyle Gibson, and he was traded at the deadline.
God bless.
You know, Dane Dunning has gotten so much better.
I was about to say Dane right there with him. Hey,
Dane's gotten so much better than he was a couple years ago.
Dane, he's a revelation now. I like it.
Speaking of Mad Max, man, it has gone final. The Rangers did sweep Chicago White Sox. They were playing the afternoon slate today. They get a 5-3 win. Scherzer gets his first win with the Rangers. He's now 10-4 on the season.
Oh, let's go.
Mad Max struck out 9 over 6 innings after a little bit of a shaky start. He gave up 3 runs in the first inning, but that was all he allowed, and that was all that the White Sox got for the entirety of the game. The Rangers,
he was just nervous. That's all it was. Just nervous.
Yeah, getting used to a new environment, I imagine. And it wasn't even like he was, he gave up like a big home run or anything. He had a bases loaded walk and a 2-run single. And then he settled in. Rangers came back with a run in the second, a run in the third, 2 in the fourth, and a run in the 8th. That was the difference in the game.
Go.
Yeah.
Mad Max, baby. Yeah!
And you know, something else that just makes me chuckle. Mad Max's former team, the Mets, they were on the road. They've been playing the same time or about the same time this week that the Rangers have. The Mets were on the road in Kansas City, one of the worst teams in the American League, save for the soon-to-be Las Vegas A's. Kansas City is down there in the standings, pretty far. The Royals just swept the Mets without Scherzer, without Verlander, without DeGrom.
That is some Mets stuff right there. They just
300 and whatever plus $1 million that for this payroll this season, and most of it's gone. It's
hey,
oh my goodness.
Hey, we brother, we're just fleecing the Mets for their stinking pitchers.
Yeah. You gotta love it. You gotta love it.
Yeah, that's hilarious. We got in what is it? Is it how long ago? When was it? When did the trade for DeGrom happen? What?
It wasn't a trade for DeGrom. He free agent signing.
Oh, free agents.
That was back last November.
November,
something like that. Around
it hasn't
the time.
even been a year.
No,
it hasn't been a year. We got
year.
these 5-time Cy Young combined.
I was gonna say
you just suck.
The top 2 pitchers in the Mets system last year, the Mets rotation, that when they were a playoff team. This is a playoff team last year, Drew. They lose DeGrom, so they go out and sign Verlander. Scherzer gets traded. Verlander gets traded back to Houston. I just
love me some Texas.
Oh
Rangers.
my goodness.
Thank you guys. I love y'all. We do this thing out in Texas/Dallas where we just like to poach New York players and bring them to our team. We do it with the Mavs. We do it with these Rangers now. We get better players though in the Texas Rangers farmland, baby.
I was just saying
Mavericks.
This is to make up for Jalen Brunson leaving Dallas.
I was just about to say we fumble and ship boys out to New York now. Goodness, that's what we do for the Mavericks. But that BJ Texas Rangers is what's on Drew's mind.
Wonderful stuff. Wonderful stuff. My goodness, that was
Max. Let's go.
You know that's going to be. You're going to have to share that around the socials on early next week when that comes out as its own standalone video. We're going to shift gears. We're going to talk some WNBA, and Drew, as we alluded to earlier in close to the Open, you said that Brittney Griner is stepping away from the upcoming, I guess that this is the road trip currently going on or had just concluded. I think they've got a game tonight at home, but she missed the 2-game road trip to Chicago and Indiana so that she could focus on her mental health, Drew.
Yeah. when she was coming back for the season, people were unsure if she was going to play coming back. I mean, a lot of people were like, "Man, I can't understand how she'd even come
Can't
back
imagine.
and even think about basketball."
Yeah,
And some
that
of the
was
first
me.
stuff that she was talking about when she got back was getting back in the gym and stuff. Like she was in the gym, hooping and ready to get back on the floor, which was I thought it was astounding. I was just like, how? I don't even. I guess
think
an escape. Essentially,
yeah, that's what I was just
somewhere.
about to say. That's what I was just about to say, Drew. Like, I mean, for me, I know when I had a big period of loss, big period of grief, I was looking for any kind of way to kind of not think about it and kind of push it down. So if that's what she did with hoops, it absolutely makes sense.
Yeah, and though I might have found a different way to do it. Maybe I would have just if I had an indoor court, which I don't know what her house structure is like, but maybe she has her own court at the crib. I mean, she could get it out that way. Maybe show up to Phoenix and do practice. But some part of me felt like something like this was coming at some point, and I thought it was actually going to happen when she had that trouble in Dallas at the airport.
Mm-hmm.
And maybe that's kind of lingered to where we are now, and the thoughts have maybe just been running through her head ever since. Just about the situation. Could it happen again? Maybe some small stuff has happened day to day that wasn't big enough news like that. We didn't know about it.
Yeah,
we don't know what her day to day is like. But it's kind of worrisome because we don't know how bad it is. At this point, because it could be really anywhere. I mean, because I'm still kind of amazed that she's playing in the season. Just full out, trying to get back into things. And
that she'd only missed, I think, 3 games before this last road trip this season. I mean, they've been really relying on her.
And she was an all-star too. I mean, like she's been hooping. I mean, like the team has been stinking, but she can still play.
Yeah,
but like it makes you kind of think about the future for her, and like how much longer is she actually going to be playing basketball professionally now? Because it's going to happen again. It's going to happen again. And unless the WNBA just has some way to just get it all together and have charters for everybody, and I don't even know if that's going to solve the issue, because I mean, you still got to go to airports. I mean,
and we have kind of figured that that's not going to happen, at least anytime soon.
Yeah, and she's going to have to travel back to Dallas where it's happened before. I mean, she's from Texas, so I mean, that's probably got to be something that kind of messes with her a little bit too. But like the time that it happened was back in her home state, or back in that area. You know what I'm saying? So. It'd be different if it was like in a town, off town. She don't care about, these fans don't like me anyway. You'd expect one of these fans to poke at me, but, maybe back in Texas hit a little different, and that's kind of lingered. I haven't seen an explanation. I doubt that she's given one or anything. I mean, you don't have to, but some people put out statements and say why they leave. But, right now, all I'm just seeing is that the Mercury fully support Brittney and will continue to work together on a timeline for her return. Don't know if there's any updated stuff on that, but there's no word from Brittney, and we obviously all don't know what's going through her mind. She just is obviously having a tough time right now, and shout out to her for obviously at this point in this point in her life, having the awareness to be able to just step away and take that break. And I mean, obviously the team's gonna have to be, they should be in general to anybody probably in these scenarios, like I need a break like that. But, especially to Brittney and what she's been through in the past year.
Yeah, and I just looked. I haven't seen any updates on if she's, if there's any, if she's, talked about playing at home tonight. I would imagine that she probably is still out, but they haven't. I think that'll be later on as we get closer to tip off that will come out, whether she's with the team and going to hoop tonight or not. So, it's one of those things that, I don't know. It's got to be because of that. That's got to be a big part of it. And it's also, how much they've relied on her. And it's just been such a, kind of dismal year that maybe she, she feels like now's the right time, especially since DT just came back. That, she's kind of like, well, it's not going to all be on me now. Let me step back. I know we'll let, DT kind of take the reins, if you will, for a little bit while I kind of get a better headspace. So, like I said, we both wish her, good mental health and hope that she can, take as much time as she needs to get it all figured out. Because I mean, we talked about it just last week with Mary Lou's how important it is to focus and prioritize one's mental health.
Yep.
So,
and this brings me back to, the question mark of how long will she continue to play? She's 32 years old.
She'll be 33 in October, right?
Yeah. Had a successful career. Already won at the highest level. I mean, won in college. I mean, she doesn't have anything else to prove out on the floor. She came back and she was an all-star again. Man, honestly, BJ, she could finish out this season, but I don't see her playing more than one more season, if that.
Yeah. I think
like she's at a point where she could retire right now. She doesn't.
Especially because the way that the way she plays and that position, it's not everybody can go out there and be Sylvia. Not everyone can go out there and for her, especially with the way she's built, she's not going to be a DT. She's not going to be a Sue Bird. And that's got to be something that no matter how much time you've got in recovery in the off season, playing that style is going to, wear and tear on the body differently because she is a different build. And so I'm right there with you. I don't think that she will play probably too much longer. I think you're right. If not one season, two at the most, I think is about it.
And especially after, superstars like Maya Moore calling it a career early, one at the highest level, shows that she's dominated and that she's one of the best ever. Felt like she didn't have anything left to prove. Stepped away from the game and never came back around the same age. I mean, I don't see why Brittney wouldn't go ahead and call it. I mean, it might make life easier. I mean, she'd be a relaxed, retired player. She can come back and get her fix of the W whenever she wants. Come watch a game. She can always watch it. I don't necessarily know that I would see any type of analyst stuff in the future, just because, I mean, I don't know. I don't know that she want to do that for one.
It really just depends on her. If she thinks that she can step away, not miss it, or
right.
whatever.
I mean, it always ultimately depends on what she wants to do. But just kind of seeing from the outside in right now and how it's going. Needing to take a mental health break during this first season back. I mean, I don't know. She may just see it as easier to go ahead and call it at some point. But only time will tell. We'll see in the future. I mean, I'd like to still keep seeing Brittney Griner play basketball. I mean, let's see. What were those averages? I don't even remember what I just saw. Right this season, 18, 7, and 2 assists with almost 2 blocks a game. I mean, still putting up good numbers and one of the better centers in the league, obviously.
Yeah. If that's the way that she goes out, if that's her final number, I mean, what a way to go out.
Right. And I mean, whatever she wants to do, she wants to keep hooping, I'm with it. She wants to retire, I'm with that too. I'm with that too. Support either way. And for the rest of the WNBA, BJ, I mean, everybody's vying to get into the playoffs. Brittney's team included, probably not going to be trying to make that playoff push necessarily at this point. They are one of the 4 teams at the bottom, though, that do not have double-digit wins. But 5 of the 12 teams in the league don't have more than 11 wins. So, I mean, they realistically can still, if they go on some run, maybe. Yeah,
I was going to say, once they get her, if she is able to come back and with DT back, it's not impossible, though. I mean, there's only one spot clinched. Everything else is still, still on the line, still a lot to be decided. And it could come down to the final day of the season, just like it did last year for that 8th and final spot.
We could see, we'll see, but Phoenix kind of really out of it. But there are some teams that have really kind of made their mark this season. Obviously, the Aces have only 2 losses on the season. You say they clinched their playoff spot.
They're the first to do so.
Yeah, in only 26 games. So just over 3/4 of the season, clinched the playoffs already. Pretty crazy.
They're getting close to that 30 win mark that you said before the season. Can they get there?
But I've got only one sleeper team that I'm going to talk about. I don't know if you've got just one. I was going to do 2, but I'm going to leave it out.
I'll give one.
I'm just going to go one. And it's the Connecticut Sun, man. And I know this kind of Sun fans, this may not hit you right just because you've been in the finals a couple of times and you've heartbreakingly lost both of the times. And you just feel like you're cursed or something probably right now. I mean, at least, maybe the revival of, the men's team winning a championship could bring some chip to Connecticut now. Maybe the energy's there. I don't know. But I've got faith in your stinking players because they're good. And they're doing it without the, potential Hall of Fame coach in Kurt Miller out there.
Yeah.
They're doing it with a new coach. And she's vying for Coach of the Year pretty much at this point. You could give it to Sandy and Becky because, if you wanted to, but we knew their teams were going to be good or knew that they should be very good.
Yeah.
Connecticut, we didn't know what kind of bag we were going to get, and they lost Bree Jones a long time ago. So, and they're still dominating as if they never lost her.
Yeah.
They're one game behind the New York Liberty right now at 19-7. And BJ, remember before the season, I asked you if how many teams we were going to see with 30 wins. Like, if Connecticut just keeps a rolling, man.
Hey, they've got a shot. They got a shot.
We could see three. We could see three because, see how empty the bottom is with those single-digit teams still so far. 25, 26 games into the season, got 4 teams with between 6 and 9 wins. 4 teams.
Yeah.
And, the top is not going to get any worse. They're going to keep dominating those guys. The Las Vegas Aces aren't going to lose to Phoenix or Indiana or Seattle or anything like that. Connecticut and New York may not either. They might slip up to one of them every once and again, but not on a regular basis.
Yeah.
So we've really we've got those teams that could vie for 30. We know Vegas is going to get. They just need 6 more wins. New York and Connecticut just 10 and 11 more. It sounds like, I'm making it sound like a little, but it's 10 freaking games.
Yeah. I was going to say for Liberty have to go 10-4 at the worst to get there. Connecticut would have to go 11-3.
Yeah. 11-3.
So it's not impossible. You look at both of those teams and, New York's 8-2 in their last 10. Connecticut's right a little bit right behind them at 7-3, 1 game back. So,
but
I was going to say, go ahead.
I really like what they've got in Connecticut, and I really want to shout out Alyssa Thomas, who's always, constantly been underrated and, was the first player in NBA and WNBA history to have, 15, 15, and 10 or some stat like that.
Yeah.
I'll have to double check myself on that. But, and also first WNBA player to have back-to-back triple-doubles. She's just absolutely dominating the game. And the fact that she was a reserve as an all-star was a little bit crazy. If she's not first team, then I don't know what we're doing. But my twin out there, her fiance now, shout out to them for getting engaged. But DeWanna Bonner playing some of her best basketball in, I don't remember what year this was. I don't want to age my girl, but later in her career, playing her best basketball. Just dominating alongside Alyssa. She's obviously the happiest that, she's ever been, it seems. And, these two are just taking the Connecticut Sun to new heights, even without, the star center Bree Jones and with John Quell in New York. So it's just, don't sleep on Connecticut. It always seems like, they're really good and they end up getting there, but they'll probably just lose. That's kind of how it's felt, a little bit. And just because of their opponents, that was Washington's time, and then that was Vegas's time. Maybe if it ends up being somehow Connecticut versus New York, maybe it is finally Connecticut's time. And that's my sleeper championship pick. Obviously I picked the Aces to win it all in the preseason picks that we had on here. But if the Aces slip up, it's got to be Connecticut's. Because if they make it and they lose again, my heart just breaks for all of you. All of you Connecticut fans.
I know.
A little bit, just a little bit, because you won a whole lot in women's college basketball. So you need to feel it. You need to feel this a little bit. Hope it stings, but I also want you to win. So.
Well, you were taking a really good team in Connecticut. I'm probably going to regret saying this out loud.
Oh, boy.
But a team that is playing really well as of late. They've already proven that they can be one of the very few to vanquish the mighty Aces. And that's a little old team in Arlington, Texas.
I knew you were going to do that.
I figured you knew I was going to do that. But, I mean, just think about this, Drew. You know, if they had survived their trips to LA, if they'd gotten a win in either one of those two games, or if they'd been able to defend home court, I mean, that's three of LA's 9 wins this year. That's a third of their wins have come against the Wings in a clean sweep.
Say that again.
A third of LA's wins have been against the Wings in a clean sweep. Yeah.
So, bro.
So if you flip one or two of those games around, Drew, this is a 17-9 squad or a 16-10 squad. That's only a couple games back of Connecticut still, but they've proven that they can hang around and beat the Aces. They've gone on the road to win at New York this year. They have hung around with Connecticut, almost got a win both on the road and at home. They're playing really good basketball right now. They had a 5-game winning streak back earlier in the month of July that we talked about, and they dropped a couple to Connecticut and Vegas here in the past week or two. But a couple games against Chicago at home. They got another chance to get the Aces on their home court here.
Look,
this is the last one of the season, so if they can,
I don't think the Aces are going to let that happen this
I don't think they will either. But I mean,
wishful thinking,
yeah. And then they got that, and then a home game with Connecticut. This is kind of a chance to go and prove it. If you're going to be a team that can win these games and win when you get to the postseason, it starts this weekend. It starts tomorrow.
They got to win at least one of those two that you just mentioned.
The Aces and the Connecticut Sun. Yeah, I agree. Because then you got a 3-game road trip after that with Connecticut again, then at the Mystics and at the Lynx before hosting the Lynx to break up the midst of a 5 out of 6 on the road before you get 3 of your last 4 at home.
Because if they do that again, then it's really like, oh, okay. Oh, yeah, I really believe you now. Yeah. You did it again. You got one.
Yeah.
Or you got the Aces again. You beat them 2 out of that. You got 2 of their 3 losses. That's you.
Yeah.
That would be these guys, you can take them seriously in a playoff series now. Like, they're beating the Aces a couple of times. That's the real stuff.
Yeah.
Or even a good win on Connecticut. That's still like, okay, they are for real. They're beating these top 3 teams. I mean, oh man, it's just they've got to win against them all, or have they not beat Connecticut? I can't remember if they have.
So they haven't beaten Connecticut yet, but they've got 2 more
if they beat Connecticut, I mean, they've beaten the top 3 teams. And
the only 3 teams that are ahead of them, yeah.
Yeah. And if they beat Connecticut and Vegas, oh my God, we got to start sweating around here like Dallas is going to win the series.
I was just saying, so that, by the way, I do want to correct myself. I said clean sweep, but LA did lose here in the midst of the Wings' 5-game winning streak. So it was 1 out of 4 that the Wings got. I want to make sure I get that right. I must have missed that. But so, yeah, I mean, I think they're playing really good basketball right now. You've seen Satu go off. She had a triple-double last
First
night.
Triple-double in the history of the Dallas Wings.
That's right. And you also saw a record fall, Drew. I'm going to make sure I wanted to play this here.
Come down to 5 points or less. And as we mentioned in the open, 6 of the last 7.
And Enrique's got the record. All-time leader in 3-pointers made, Enrique Ogunbowale.
And that's just in Wings history. That's not WNBA career mark or anything like that. But still a really good accomplishment for Enrique to go and break that record. So, I mean, if they keep playing really good basketball, the schedule allows for it. We could come back and revisit this here in a manner of 2 weeks as they're getting ready to take on Connecticut, the second game of 2 after they get these 4 games at home in the span of about a week and 8 days, and then they've got 6 days off before they play again at Connecticut on the 18th. So if we want to revisit in 2 weeks and see how they did in that span, if we buy them as a real contender, or was it just the stretch of the season?
Might have some guests on to chat with that about too. So
I think so. I think we might.
But you remember before you got to yours, I said I was gonna almost did 2. That was my second team.
Well, I'm glad you didn't take 2.
Right? Yeah. But Wings are definitely doing well, and if they can get through that, I mean, it's you gotta.
Anybody's game.
That video game meme where you're playing the game that they're sitting up now. They're sitting up ready to play. Like there's no leaning back anymore. They're ready to rock and a serious contender to win a playoff series.
Absolutely.
I think they definitely have a chance now, but like serious if they win even one of those two, Connecticut or Vegas. Absolutely. And BJ, I think it's time to play a game now.
I think it is, Drew. It's a game that we haven't seen you and I play in a couple weeks because we had the guest play last week, Miss Cruz. And so we're going to play a little with it or quit it, Drew. It's 5 questions, and it's my turn to ask Drew the questions this week, and Drew's got to let me know if he is with it or if he's going to quit it. So, Drew, whenever you're ready, I've got my handy dandy little sheet here.
Okay.
I went hard back today.
Okay.
So,
let's do it.
We'll start off with question number 1. Drew, there's a real reason to worry that the U.S. women's national team is not going to win a 3rd straight World Cup. Are you with it? Or are you going to quit it?
With it. They almost blew it.
Yeah, they almost got knocked out in the group stage. And they had two draws, right?
Yeah. No. Wait.
Yeah, they had 2 draws and 1 win, no losses. But
Portugal, was it Portugal? No.
Yeah, it was Portugal. And these are teams that they should be dominating. They really shouldn't be struggling to get anything going and move on. So, yeah.
Yeah, this is definitely, you got to be worried a little bit for sure. This early that happening, got to be worried.
And then there was pushback because former U.S. player Carly Lloyd had, the nerve as an analyst to critique the team's play. It's like, that's what she does. That's her job, you know? So I'm agreeing with you right there. And that's why I phrased it the way I did. Drew, number 2. So you, Mr. Drew Ivory, if you had one song that would describe your life, one song, that song would be a country song. With it? Quit it.
Just a general, like, no.
Well, I was gonna say, is there a like, if you have a song in mind, is that song
I'll just give you an artist, probably. I don't know. Oh no, that's terrible to say on here. It would not be a country song. No.
Would it be a rap song?
We're gonna quit it. We're gonna quit it.
Right.
It's unfortunately it's gonna be it's gonna be a little stinking. It's gonna be an R&B song.
Okay, there's nothing wrong. Nothing wrong with that. Nothing wrong with that. Not whatsoever. All right, Drew. Number 3. I know you might have caught our Lowdown CFB show last night, talking some college football. Well, are you in agreement, Drew, that before you and I come back for our next episode next week, we're going to see 2 new Big 12 teams coming from the Pac-12?
Ooh.
So if with it would mean that there will be 2 new Big 12 teams coming from the Pac before we meet again next Thursday.
Just announced or like?
Yeah, so this would not be before next season. So, but it will be announced by next Thursday that there will be 2 new additional.
Colorado counts as 1 already?
No, 2 in addition to what we've already. Colorado's already announced. So
2 more?
2 more. 14, 15.
By the next episode?
By our next episode, there will be 15 members for the conference next season. Before next episode, there will be 2 new teams.
I feel like you know something that I don't, so I'm just going to say with it.
Well, it just depends on how much you take.
Because you're plugged into this. I'm like, which way am I going to guess?
Depends on how much stock you take in rumors, I guess, is really what it comes down to.
Well, I'm going to say yes, because college football people, they'll snitch out the truth for sure. Like, yeah, we're getting 2 more, by the way, in case y'all didn't know.
And that's just the start. If they get 2, they're going to get another one. They're
going to end up being as big as the freaking Lone Star Conference.
They're going to try to get 16. They're going to try to be SEC and Big Ten.
Well, they won't be Lone Star Conference then because they got like 20. 20 in that state conference.
We'll see 20 in the Big Ten or the SEC before you know it. It sounds like the way things are going.
Do they split them up in the SEC? Do they split them up into divisions since they have so many teams? Okay.
So they
gotta have some order like that.
Both Big Ten and SEC still have divisions now. What they're going to do is they're, like next year, they're not going to be doing divisions per se, but they're going to have like designated like conference games that everybody plays as opposed to, playing these games from your division. So like you'll see the rivalry still protected and everything like that, but you'll get more variety. You won't be playing the same teams every year with only like a couple changes. So, all right, Drew, number 4. So we talked a little lottery back in BJ's Best, and Drew,
go broke. I know.
Are you with it, or are you going to quit it? That I should save my money, not spend any, because the Mega Millions jackpot is not going to be won during tomorrow's drawing yet again.
BJ, I can't win here. I can't win here. Want me to tell you, don't spend that money, and you could have won with your numbers. Like, Drew, these are the exact numbers that I had. And I'd just be punching myself in the face because we could all win money here. I'd be like, yeah, go do it. And you'd be like, Drew, since you told me to go do it, here's $10,000. Good Lord. Here you go. So, man, do I have to pull a Mary Lou's Cook here and, just cut it down the middle, or no? I can't do that. That hurt.
I was just saying, she said a precedent I don't intend to allow to happen again.
That hurt yesterday. That hurt.
I know.
She didn't pick. Oh my gosh.
No, I know.
With it? I don't question. Yes, with
so
it.
With it, that there will not be a winner tomorrow.
Yeah,
okay,
probably not.
All
so
right.
you can try again next week. I'll tell you that once somebody loses tomorrow, it'll be bigger, and you go play on that one.
Big on Tuesday. Got it.
Remember your friend in here said that when you get $1 billion.
When I get the ticket, yeah.
Here's some money, please, sir.
Please, sir, may I have some more?
Just a little piece of change.
Just some chump change. All right. Drew, I'm really glad you went the direction
Some quarters.
I'm really glad you went the direction you did for what was on Drew's mind today.
Oh, it's part number 5, isn't it?
Number 5, yeah.
The Texas Rangers will win the World Series with it.
No, nothing like that. All I'm asking you here today, Drew, is that the Texas Rangers won the trade deadline, and they'll represent the American League in the World Series. And that, I imagine, is going to get a chorus line of emphatic with it. Is it not?
You're damn right. Straight up Texas with it.
I didn't even know that's what you were planning on doing for your personal segment today. So it just happened.
We're there. We're there. You know
one brain length, one brainwave this week. That is what's with it or quit it. That is what's with it or quit it. Because it's also in relation to what's on Drew's mind. But we're with it or quit it, and that's the it.
He tried to save it, guys. I know he tried to save that right there. He almost said
there's no real way to save it after that.
That's with it or quit it, and that's the episode. What we meant to do there.
That's what I meant to do.
Appreciate y'all hanging out with us. And I forgot to do this at the beginning of the episode. Shame on me. But don't forget to follow everybody else on the network. Follow the Lowdown Network on Twitter, Instagram, subscribe on YouTube. Follow us on Twitch. I think it was follow. Yeah, follow TikTok. Us on Twitch, and check us out on TikTok too. I mean, we post shorts on YouTube, TikTok. We got everything for the network. Follow our other shows though on Twitter: Lowdown CFB, the Lowdown Golf, the Lowdown CBB, who should be back tomorrow.
That's what
with a new episode. It would be lovely if they were for a new episode, and we'll be all locked in. So. Make sure you drop everybody a follow, support all the other shows and the other sports. I know you guys don't just like basketball. I know you like football and some other things because we do too.
We talked to a little Lowdown baseball today. Lowdown MLB.
Lowdown baseball. Yeah, a little Lowdown MLB preview right here. Coming at some point, hopefully.
Next season.
Bring some MLB to the network. That'd be cool. But make sure you follow everybody on social and obviously us at the _lowdown. That's THA_lowdown on Twitter. Give us that good follow. Make sure you rate and review the podcast as well on Apple and Spotify. We'd appreciate it very much. But yeah, like BJ said, that's the episode. And we're going to be back again next week with another edition of the Lowdown Sports Show.